I've worked at a Catholic school as a
Hmm.
volunteer, DC now, and I haven't been in the
Hmm.
classroom yet in DC, but in Maryland. And
Hmm.
a lot of it is from home. A lot of the kids don't want to be it's at home, so they come to school because their friends are there. They socialize, they do whatever. And I mean, even late at night, sometimes they're hanging around the school
Hmm.
instead of going home. And a lot of times the parents don't know where their kids are. A lot of them don't show an interest to know where their kids are. A lot of
Yep.
them are afraid of their kids. And so it's tough for teachers and coaches, and a lot of teachers are afraid of them. And when a kid knows that you fear them, oh, it just gives them more power.
And that's
So
kind of interesting. Yeah. Hmm.
it falls on the coaches a lot to not just coach the particular sport, but you being the father, the
Hmm.
uncle, that you got to teach them
Hmm.
values and all. It's a lot on the coaches, and then the different counties have certain restrictions on coaches where you can't do certain things, like you can't drive a young lady home
Hmm.
and it's pitch black dark at night and she's 4 foot nothing and she's
Hmm.
got to walk home. It's kind of, you can't even look out for them but to a certain degree because of all the stipulations they have against you. So it's kind of
Hmm.
hard to win in those situations, and a lot of these kids, they latch on to a coach because the coach will listen to them, but then somebody's inside the school trying to watch you to see if you're going to do something wrong so they can blame you and say, hey, you're doing something wrong, when all you're really doing is trying to help a kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's interesting
Guys,
is
it's eight
how did all this
o'clock.
happen?
Oh,
How did
Yeah,
all
we
this
are having a
happen?
great conversation, but let's
Yeah,
get
yeah,
into
go
the
for it.
conversation we
Okay.
want to have today.
okay.
I think this almost goes into what here the
It
people that
happened.
are in this conversation. I
Welcome,
mean, the,
Rusty.
yeah, the other, well, since I'm divorced too, is look at all this going on. What is how did we get here? And what happened through
And
our
that's a
lives?
conversation, Michelle, we're going to pick up a little bit, but
That's
let's
what I figured.
get
I
started
was
with
going
this
with that
one.
segue right now. So okay.
So, one of the things that was being asked a lot in the group. So, for those of you that are here, welcome. Glad that you are here. Glad that you get the opportunity because this is where we have deeper conversations called reset strategies. Many of you that are present know that I have a conversation, give you some insight about life after divorce. And this is my husband, Eric, joining us to answer questions. I typically do a lot of things on my own that you guys see me, but on this moment, wanted you to get a perspective for the male thought process. So, welcome. Glad you guys are here. Letting you know that you can ask your questions if you're comfortable. Share your camera. Would love to see your beautiful face. And letting you know that this is something that we're sharing so that people can have some insights. Pieces of it will be shared with the group so that our joint questions can be answered. Because one question kept coming up, and we'll have a conversation about loneliness. And if that's not the topic that you specifically need because you're here, and our desire is to give you a strategy that you need to apply today. Because when I was going through my chaos, sometimes I just needed the specific strategy for that moment. And so, since you're here, you can share inside of the chat box your questions, your comments, or we can continue with the conversation that a lot of people was asking about how to deal with loneliness when it shows up. So, guys, let me know. You can type, you can share, and if you're comfortable, turn your camera on. We'd love to see your beautiful faces. So let me know, do you want to have that conversation about loneliness, or is there something specific that you need right now today to get you through this week? Anyone want to share? Thank you for that. And hey, thank you guys for being here as well. So I can share the question that was asked, but
Let's
you
start with
need a
that.
strategy of your own? Let us know. Any particular comments, questions, or thoughts before we begin? And feel free to share because this is an interactive session. Okay, you guys are really quiet.
Michelle's eating cookies.
I know Michelle's eating cookies, but
No,
thank you,
I'm
Michelle, for
done.
the
There were small
conversation.
ones, but I don't want to hog stuff up. Tanya knows how bad I am about that. But I like the loneliness thing, just on a side note. So
Okay.
yeah, and I don't do the I don't know. It's not a good hair day. It's just not a good time. So all these interesting things in life right now. Right now.
Understood. So one of the questions that was asked is it normal to still feel lonely, even though I wanted the divorce? I'll
Hmm.
let you begin with answering the question.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I personally have never experienced being lonely, but there have been times when I have had a great miss. I miss this or I miss that. And if that's a situation, I would say that you have to find something to replace with a different activity or something to fill that void to keep you from missing whatever that is, that feeling is that you're missing. It was the time I was missing my child. And I was like, man, I'm used to her being here. And at the same time, I was missing my mom because they both left away from me, still living, but away from me. And I was like, it was a big void because my whole world centered around those two women or those two ladies. Daughter was a little thing. And I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself, but I wasn't lonely because I had gotten to a point where I was comfortable with being by myself, so to speak, being able to entertain myself or what have you. So I was never lonely. I just had a strong desire. I missed them. I missed their presence. So I found things that I love to do, which one was music. And I'd sit in my little chair. I took the kind of where you can screw the legs off the bottom. And so it was right down low to the floor. I had the lights off in the room. And I just turned my music on and listened to my nice romantic music and just got myself in a good mood. That's what I did. Other than that, I would try to, be around people that I knew kept me happy, people who was laughing and joyous and things like that. So I've never really experienced being lonely, just missing people. It's been my experience. But Tanya's told me that
So
she
I
had some interesting thoughts about being lonely.
so going through a divorce brings up a whole lot of different emotional elements. And loneliness was one of those things that I was feeling because at that point in my life, half of my life was with just this one person. So, for those of you that just get to know me, Michelle already knows this story, so this is a repeat. When I go through sharing my elements, starting off at the beginning, some of us have to go back and remember what it was like in the beginning when we started. So, I got married at 21, and that marriage lasted 11 years. That, for me, was basically all of my adulthood, and I mean, pretty much all of my adulthood at that point, you turn 18, but a third of my life with just one person. So I made an agreement. We had a conversation because of all the different things that took place and decided that we're done. I did not appreciate how the situation took place. Thank you, Christine, for sharing your camera. Love seeing your beautiful face. But I struggled with the fact that I know this is a toxic relationship. I don't need to be here. So going to get the divorce was what I needed to do. But because he was my everything at that point in my world. So I was lonely with not having him present and I struggled with sleeping in the bed by myself. But what I discovered in that chaos was that divorce just unearthed other emotions that I kept feeling in my world. It wasn't so much him, but it was other unpacked things that I never really took the time to dig deep in. Some elements for me. Some of you know my story, some of you don't. I am also a daddyless daughter and a motherless child. My grandmother had to raise me. So I had abandonment issues that got tapped into when I was going through my divorce. And I had never really considered the thoughts about being abandoned because my grandmother did everything that she could. And I had a great village. So I have this concept. Some of you may be mindful of it being raised by the village. So I'm a village baby. My neighborhood pretty much raised me. So I never felt like it was really an absence of not having a mother and not having a father because I kept being poured into. But when you find yourself in a space where you start looking at the breakdown of your relationship, you start looking at the breakdown in other areas. And because my attention was focused in other directions, I started going into a space and a place that was not supportive. So that's where my loneliness came in. Even though I needed to get away from the toxic mess, the familiarity was something I still sort of longed for, and not having it made me feel like I was the only person in the world walking through that thing, the only person in the world feeling that experience, the only one, which gives us the magnified moments of loneliness. So I had to walk through that piece.
Hmm, that's interesting. I'm listening to you, and there were aspects that again I missed, but I never felt lonely. I have a lot of love inside of me. I'm just a naturally loving type of person, and I have to show it. I have to give it away. So I missed that, but I wasn't lonely. So I really can't understand that part because I've never experienced it. But I did have I missed coming home, hey honey, giving a kiss, getting a hug, those kind of things, teasing with people. I pick with her all the time. But I never experienced anything beyond just missing certain things or certain aspects of the marriage, of the relationship. So this is new for me too. I'm learning some things here because I've never even thought about being lonely. I can't comprehend that one.
So while we have the concept, please share if this is something that you want to continue having a conversation in, because there's a couple of strategies that I learned to walk through that I can share. Some of the pieces that you have already shared, even though you did not walk through, you felt that moment of loneliness, but some of the things that you shared, the strategy that you can use to reset. Anyone have a comment or thought about it? Feel free to share. And if you want to type it in, you can do so as well, because I recognize that everybody wants to share the comments out loud. But this is an opportunity where we show up so that you can get what you need in this moment. Yes, Rusty, go ahead. Please unmute yourself and share your camera if you like. I'd love to see your face.
Hey, Rusty, how you doing?
Hi, I'm okay.
Good.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I really appreciate too the topic. Um, I, my journey is just starting
Okay.
through the process, and I just brought a lot of. I can really relate to what you're saying about the abandonment issues and feeling lonely, and I have had a lot of um, reflection and seeing working through a lot of those other issues that have come up in the process of what I'm the process that I'm going through now. And there are times when I feel like I am an island in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
and um, the world's the walls are closing in, and um, it's been hard because, like you said, this person was my everything, and that's no longer wanted. And I have been when this all started in a really bad place, and eventually um, saw a psychiatrist and was diagnosed with depression, and that led to being put into a outpatient program and confronting other issues that when I was a kid with PTSD. And I just, uh, realized that it was not just there was a part of me that's very codependent, and everything revolved around her. And I withdrew so much from other relationships that was it. And now I'm here, and that's all I have. And I'm trying to rebuild, and I'm open to hearing about strategies to kind of find that way and find some way to get back on my feet, I guess.
So first, I want to thank you for sharing, and I
Yes.
commend you for being open with your story. And I want you to know also, I'm a coach. If you feel like you still need to walk through therapy, please do so. Because when I provide insight for you, I'm giving you insight from what I teach, share, and know. Because I've walked through this. And I never gone through the fact where I was designated by a coach or, I mean, a therapist as being depressed. But those similarities and some of the elements that I walked through was undiagnosed depression. So when I had to do first was make a decision. It's hard when you're in the beginning to start thinking about what you need for yourself, but it was an intentional step and it was one thing. I made a decision that I had to do something to get moment to moment because a minute was way too long. So my first moment was deciding I'm going to do one thing for me. Because a lot of what I discovered where my loneliness took place is because I had identified more with him and the world that we were creating. Because you're supposed to create and wrap yourself in that relationship. The thing that happens for us that we don't pay attention to is when that relationship ends, we're also walking through a grieving of what we thought should have been, a grieving of who we were in that moment, a grieving of the future that we had planned when we walked down the aisle together. It no longer exists. And because it's not a physical death, people don't think you need to grieve. So I want you to know, Rusty, grieve. Grieve for what you wish. Grieve for what you wanted so that you can get it out your soul. So when I finally decided to grieve, my version of grieving was writing letters. Writing does two things. First, it helps you get out and express the best you can what you are walking through. Now, there doesn't have to be any letters that's anything that's a construct for somebody to read. These letters are for you and your soul. I highly suggest, you already know what to say.
Yes, I know.
One of the things that I did in writing out my letters, because I wrote everything. I wrote my pain, I wrote my chaos, I wrote my anger, I wrote all of my stuff. Nobody on the planet needed to read any of those letters. So what I did was bought a grill. I got a little cheap grill from Walmart. That grill is the only thing I did on that grill was burn the letters that I had to release the chaos from my soul. Writing is cathartic because it forces your brain to process while you write. The actual act of writing gives your body something to do. Because when we are in our lonely moments, we don't want to do anything. It took me a month to get out of my bed consistently. So I don't want to do anything. But sitting on the edge of the bed just to write my letter was the one thing that got me through the moment. And then I made a second decision. After writing, and I was able to write all of those letters at that time because I have children. I sent my children to my mama's. So the loneliness was really kicking in because I had nobody I had to get up and really be responsible for. So sitting on the edge of the bed writing, I wrote all this stuff. And then after a while, I got tired of seeing all the chaos that I had created from all the letters and I ran out of paper. So now if I'm going to really keep my therapy going, I gotta get up, go get some paper. The writing forced my brain to recognize if we are writing, then we can still do some things. If we are writing, then there's a part of me that still has something to say. If we are writing, my story has not ended here in this moment. Burning those letters on the grill gave me the thought process of seeing the pain, the chaos, the trauma that I had experienced, that I expressed on those pages, go up in smoke. It was in that moment that I decided all the pain that I walked through is there and I'm done with it. And I chose that to be my reset moment. So I used those two elements to physically, because when you walk through moments of loneliness, because it's a default to just being still and doing nothing, the actions will kickstart your brain to start doing some other things to try to get you to continue to move. Find an activity that supports you. If the letters are supportive, great. But find something. And if it just takes you a moment, just diagnosing, what do I really like to do? Because the piece that I found that was a deeper part of my soul that I did not clearly resonate then, I lost Tanya. I lost Tanya in being wife. I lost Tanya in being mother. I lost Tanya in the constructs of what society said I should have been in that marriage and what my ex was trying to form me into in that marriage. And I just acquiesced the throne and allowed it to happen. But on this side, it was just me again. I didn't know me. So I defined me. So take some moments to rediscover who you are, because you're an amazing person.
You know what? I have to say thank you to you, Randy. Your vulnerability is strength. It takes a lot to do what you did just now. And you helped me because I had made the statement that I was never lonely. And I know why now that I wasn't.
Mm.
I always had at least one or two. I never have a lot of people around me, but I always have a few that are very, very, very close to me. And they won't let me go but so down or unhappy. And they won't let me get there because it's what we do. We're a support system. But from the way I grew up, I think is how I got my strength is I never got lonely because I was used to being alone. I had siblings and all of that, but I was always seemingly by myself. I was
Okay.
always the different one. You know, I have a brother that's actually 10 and a half years older than I, but yet he was gone and married when I was a little boy. And then I had two siblings below me At the age of 10, I was responsible for taking care of them, getting them to school, getting them back, and all of that at 10. So my childhood was, I had to be in this certain level because I had responsibilities because that's the way my life was set up. It was my mom. She had to work. So it fell on me. The older brother, like I said, he was gone, married, having kids, doing all that. He wasn't around. It was me. So I was always having to be the responsible one. I couldn't afford to get down. I had to always be on top of my P's and Q's. And I believe that I had built such a structure in my mind that I couldn't afford to get lonely because I always had some responsibility. I had to keep moving. I had to do, I had to do, I had to do. But there were moments like the one when my daughter and my mom both were out of my household, so to speak, at the same time. It was a void. I missed them, but I wasn't
You didn't
lonely.
have anything to
You
do.
know, I could still interact with them, but I didn't miss, I missed them, but it wasn't a lonely feeling. So thank you for that. Because I was trying to figure out why is it I don't know what it's like to be lonely. I never had the opportunity to, which could be a good thing. I don't know. But to this day, I have guys that I know I can count on. It's been moments when I felt that I was treated badly. My ex, it was horrible because some people will take advantage of your kindness. And you can be as kind-hearted as you want to be, the almost perfect person, because nobody's totally perfect, and they'll use and abuse you and move on. And you're like,
Hmm.
but I was doing good. I was doing everything right. What did I do wrong? Now I felt that one before. What else could I have done? But you can't please everybody. So thankfully, I've got a support system around me that won't let me go so far off track, you know. And if I did go off track, they would say, "Hey, you're wrong in this one, buddy. Get it together." So I've always said that check and balance. So I've never really experienced that, but I appreciate you so much for being strong enough to share that because that wasn't easy. I could tell. I was watching your body language. It was not easy for you to share, but you did it. So kudos to you, buddy. That was strength, and I appreciate the strength that you shared to do that.
Can I add to that, Rusty? I want to add that that strength that you just used, that's what you're going to tap into to get through this. This moment right here is not what you wanted, but you have a strength that you're built for to get through the life that you are living. And when you are ready to rebuild your new construct with new elements and new people and new things, starting with yourself first. Because it was when I discovered Tanya to get myself healed, whole, and better. I wasn't looking to, because y'all, let me share this with y'all. He already knows, so he's not going to feel bad about it. But I was not going to do this marriage thing again. When I went through the chaos of that one, I was done. What we not going to do again is put myself in a position where I'm pouring because I had to learn. When I finally got clear, I'm loving, I'm giving, I'm supportive. If I decide that you are part of me, we in this together, I got you. And if I'm going to be that loyal, that much encouragement, that much strength, and then pour it in, what? No, we ain't doing this. But here's what happened. As I made a decision to use that strength that you have for me to gird Tanya up, to make certain that Tanya was well, Tanya was whole. And no matter what, whoever decides if I was going to do this again, they will get the opportunity to bask in the glory of who I am. So when he showed up, I was loving on me. And I discovered I was always supposed to love on me. Getting married at 21, I knew elements of myself, but I didn't have a deepness inside of my being about who I truly was. Because my grandmother always gave me a thought about what I was supposed to do, how I was supposed to function, and then society dumped on me the things that I was supposed to do. And we want to fit in. So our way of trying to fit in is to acquiesce pieces of ourselves. And I did, but now I don't. And because I don't, I am strengthened with my own gifts and complemented with someone else that is supporting my world as well.
She made me work hard though, Randy. She made me work very hard.
Oh, when you love on you, you're going to expect some things about your love.
This lady had a list of 20
Okay.
attributes.
That's what I
Wait,
was-
no. This is me. This is Eric and Randy's moment right here. She had a list of 20. The first three I struck out on. I didn't know about this list though. She told me later. I'm like, I'm a 17 out of 20.
So here's a different reset moment. We were talking about loneliness, but we got to dip into a conversation about how you show up in your singleness. So, in my single moment, when I was discovering Tanya, I decided, because this is one of those times in this moment right now where you'll start creating a mental list of what you don't want because you know what you don't want. I had to create a list of what I really wanted because what I discovered in that relationship is that I never really took the time to decide who I wanted. I married a man that my grandmother chose for me. I already knew marrying him, some parts of me would not be filled, but I trust her judgment because I trusted her. What I should have done was taken the time to truly decide what I wanted. So I created a list. Then, as I started writing this list, after a while, the developer in me, you'll hear these terms later on if you follow me enough, decided that making a list really wasn't something that was really conducive to a relationship, but it did get me to seal my thoughts. And because I had already gone through my therapy session of writing, why not write some more stuff? So that's when the list came. But I learned you don't do relationships by list. You do relationships by being clear about knowing who you are. That is how you maximize the people that will join your world, support your world, and get you where you need to be.
I have a question for you, Randy. I don't remember exactly how you said it, but you said that in your relationship, you everything was about her, and that other relationships subsided, or you put them aside, or what however you worded that. I would suggest that you maybe start some of those back up if possible. Everybody needs a friend or a good friend, a sounding board or whatever. And maybe if you do develop some more relationships that are good for you and the other person or persons, it'll help take away some of that loneliness that you feel because now you have a new or an improved relationship that you can now spend some time in to help soothe your heart, so to speak, a little bit. Because, like I told you, I always had a few people around me, so I've never had that feeling, and I'm thankful that I never did. The missing part got a little tough sometimes too, but that may help you. I'm not sure, but that's just a thought because you mentioned that you had let some relationships slide because you put everything around her. Perhaps you can, rekindle some of those relationships. I'm not sure.
Mm.
What do you think?
Well, I've actually started that process, and
Awesome.
I
See,
have
great minds think alike.
yeah, and you sound a little bit like my therapist.
Well, this one
But I
doesn't
mean,
charge you.
Actually, you know
but
what?
there's
It's
a
been
lot
a
of truth to
blessing.
it.
That Tanya asked me to come and join us because, believe it or not, she calls me her therapist sometimes because I've lived a little longer than she has, and we both have different experiences. So we can share our experiences that we've both shared, and I can share how I dealt with some things and vice versa. So I'm learning for her, she learns from me. And then whenever she gives me an opportunity to come on here, it's always a blessing because I'm a part of the group too. I don't always get in as much as she does because I'm very busy with the coaching and mentoring that I do with the students in school. But I do on occasion go and I'll see things, and when I feel led to, I'll make a comment or two. And I've never had anybody give me any negative feedback from what I've shared with them, but it's always good to share with people because we all have more similarities than I think we have differences. It's just a matter of meeting, where we can help each other out and having that kind of heart and mindset to do so. So I really enjoy when I have a time to come on here with her and do this. I've met some good people. I have okay, one guy last 2 weeks ago was on. So I'm
Okay.
really bonding with you because it's usually mostly ladies, so I'm enjoying this and I have some more,
The male.
testosterone here. Yeah.
So let me also share. So there's several people that are looking at this element. The Life After Divorce group is just one part that we support because I do a couple of different things outside of it. But I made a decision when I came on the other side because I felt like God said I had to give back and share. Because lots of times when I was going through my stuff, I could not afford a therapist, but I did need some sort of support. So for those that are members of the Life After Divorce group, in that group, we have several admins that are there every day supporting you. So if you need some support, just reach out to any of the admins because we are there all the time. But there's another coach. His name is Shannon. Shannon supports those individuals that are newer in their relationships. If you're on a newer end, join the Tuesday session. You'll find all of the different events that are happening in the group under the event tab. So when you select them as they show up, please participate because it gives you an opportunity to get some thought process and some ideas and some support because we share because we know what it was like to be in those elements. And because we have lived the strategies, I am the first recipient of everything that I teach, share, and show because I have walked through it and I know it works. Because if you're looking for life after divorce, this is a reset moment. We will be married 15 years come January.
On her birthday.
Yeah. I went through a 7-year gap of being single between my first marriage and this marriage because there are individuals that are wondering how long or what happens in the in between. So we have that construct as well to walk through. But this is so that we can give you some support along the way, a little more strategic, because it's kind of how I'm designed. So I'm hoping that the strategy supports you. But ask your questions as you need. So I want to pause and see, are there any other comments, questions, or thoughts? And thank you so much for being here. Please share.
I'm going to call somebody out. Christine, have you dealt with loneliness? And
I
if so,
have.
how did you manage it?
Well, for me, I was married. Well, I was married 29 years. I'm still married. My divorce is going to be final soon. But we were together 35 years, and I am very blessed because I have a great support system of
Awesome. Awesome.
married friends. So my loneliness comes in on the weekends. Like I
Mm,
talk to my friend, like usually it's Friday and Saturday night.
okay. So in those
Friday
times,
night is why this is here.
what have you done in those instances where you felt that loneliness on Friday, Saturday nights? What have you done, or what have you tried to do to eliminate that that sadness and that loneliness?
Well, one thing I've done is I've reconnected with some very good friends of mine. I have moved out of state about 12 years ago, but kept in touch. You know, you have friends in your life where you go long periods of time without talking, but you get back together and it's like no time passed. So
Yep, those are the best ones.
yes, so
I
I
have
reached
that.
out to several of those friends who are not in this state, but one of them actually just recently, well, a year ago, lost her husband. He passed
Mm.
away and she's having the same struggles. So Friday nights are really hard for her. So most Friday nights we do a virtual happy hour. We just FaceTime each other
I
and
was gonna
Oh,
share
yeah,
that.
have have a
that sounds
beverage.
pretty
And
cool.
so for me, the struggle has been trying to find people who aren't married. And of course when they're available, I get invited sometimes to do stuff with. There's a group of friends that we all used to go together as couples, and for a long time, I shouldn't say for a long time, I still occasionally get invited to things like that, and I try to go, but it's so awkward. It's hard. That's hard.
I can relate to that part, not the loneliness part, but the part of trying to when you have joint friends and the ex has gone out and put all kinds of labels on you and told
Yeah.
untruths about you and
Well, fortunately,
yeah,
in my situation, um, I have retained all of the friendships, and he's kind of been kicked out of the group because he's the one that really did wrong. I mean,
got you, good,
so unfortunately, it's just that it's a different relationship
right. I have another
because
question. Have
I'm
you, are there
single.
things, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you
No,
had paused there.
go ahead.
I was going to ask you, are there any particular things that you like to do that you could do, not necessarily having to have anybody else present, that can still bring you some joy and happiness in those moments?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay.
So
Okay.
here's something that I can share, having walked through that part of the journey as well. I was having a conversation, you already heard some pieces, but in that time when I finally started working things out and my mind said, go do, I went on a journey to rediscover me. In rediscovering me, it was going back to the basics. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite flower? It was in that journey that I decided to find activities that would give me the opportunity to be exposed. So every city has several different things that they try to put on because they want you to spend your money and do some fun things. So there's this it's an app now, but it was a website called Groupon where you can get a
Mm.
group coupon, a discounted amount. You don't have to have a group to go on because girl, I did a lot of these by myself. But on Groupon, you can go search a city, find a discounted amount, and then you can go visit those different places. So I went and experienced several different things by myself, made some brand new friends for that moment. And then I went on about my business. Some people over time, we sort of found ourselves in similar Groupon activities where we kept running into each other. So it became sort of a pseudo friend moment. But those activities you plan in advance. When you're planning and when you're going out on your own. So from woman to woman perspective, when we travel by ourselves in these moments, make certain that those events that you take place are events that really have a lot of different people and an open setting that you can easily get to and from with a taxi or Uber or whatever. Or if you're driving where the parking is close enough to the space where you don't have to travel so far. The beautiful thing about where we are in this day and age, you can Google Earth any location. So Google Earth the spot. Look around the spot to see if there's any dark spaces, where it's parking, what's the distance. You can do a virtual walk to various spots so that you can see how long does it take to get from one section to the next or whatever like that, so that you have clarity for your safety concerns and all those things, make sure that you're whole. But in those places, it's a lot of people like us at that time. You just want to have some fun. Not a lot of them have a lot of group individuals. And we, as a human construct, when we are having similar activities, if somebody else is in that similar activity, we don't mind sort of bringing them in the fold. So even though I was usually by myself, groups of people that were hanging out will eventually invite me in because I did a lot of arts and craft things because, again, I like to do arts and crafts. So that was me discovering, do I still like to do this? Yeah, I do. When I just was going through trying to figure out what's my favorite color. Now, for me, it was an easy thing because I grew up a tomboy. My favorite spot was going to Lowe's or Home Depot because when you go there, they got the paint aisle. All the colors are on the paint aisle, but these cute little cards. Ain't that nice? So I would go pick a couple. I spent so much time at Lowe's that I knew the crew, I knew they shift, and they would let me know, hey, we're going to have a craft session. If you stay until such and such, you could be a part. And this, people thought I worked there for a little while because I was at all the craft.
That's funny.
They're like, Tanya can show you that. I'm gonna go over here for a minute. I'm like, okay, let me show you guys. And they're like, where you go? I don't know. I don't work here.
Tanya's hilarious too, but she was serious about that Lowe's thing. I used to tell her that she was married to Lowe's. What was your what's your ex-husband's name?
I don't know how many of y'all used to watch TV where there was this guy called Vila. He used to do fixing houses, Mr. Vila. I forgot his name. So anyway, I'm gonna have to Google that so some of y'all can see. Google Vila house. What does he
I
do?
don't know,
House
but
maintenance. He's always restoring houses.
was
Mr. Vila.
that was your home. That
Bob
was,
Vila.
Bob,
My
Bob,
man.
that was my competition, Rusty.
So he would always show you how to fix little things. It was the greatest show. I loved it. Thank you. See, Rusty, I'm glad you're here. Partner in crime.
And Christine, thank you for sharing that. I didn't really mean to put you in the spot, but I kept looking at you and I just felt that I needed to ask you that question. So thank you. And I think that your happy hour is a great idea because it's twofold. You and your friend are both having what do you call it? An answer for your loneliness, but at the same time, you're giving her some needed therapy that she needs. You're a friend and she needs that friend. So that's a double blessing in itself right there. And I'm
Yeah.
glad you have her and I'm glad she has you.
Yeah. So this time it's set aside for you guys. I answered the question that was asked. We can go into a deeper session, but if not, we can just let this be a moment. If you have enough strategy, or if you want us to go deeper into the strategy session that we have, I can do that. Otherwise, I'll just close it out with one little thought that I often call my next level note. What are you guys thinking?
Let me say thank you to these guys because I enjoyed having you guys and meeting you guys. And so I want you to be encouraged. I appreciate you coming. I hope to see you again. Not as a bad thing per se, but just another opportunity to share and talk with you guys because I've enjoyed you three, the only three that I know. It might be somebody else listening. I thank you for coming
Yeah,
also. But
someone else
for
was there.
Michelle, Christine, and Rusty, I really appreciated engaging with you guys tonight, and I look forward to it another time.
Thank you. Okay. So are there any comments, questions, or thoughts you guys have? If not, Going to close out a little bit with the next level note. All right, well, hearing none. But for those of you that are just getting a chance to meet me with the next level note, my next level notes are those things that I've learned. They're principles and precepts that have supported me on the journey to get me to my next position. Because for a lot of us, when we're walking through the chaos of life after divorce, some of us feel like there really is not life that's really going to be helpful after divorce. For some of us, have those happy moments that we walk through. That is great. But there are things that we can always find. And one of the things I want to remind you of, especially if you're an individual that has walked through some lonely moments and some of the strategy sessions that we have here, if you need to tap in, use the comments below, use the chat box, comment inside the group. You can comment and find me easily. It's not that hard to locate where I am. But in this next level note, I was reminded of a story that I heard. A story about the little girl that made a decision that she was no longer going to be afraid of the dark. And being in a position where she was no longer going to be afraid of the dark, she would often cry out, Lord, I need help to stop being afraid of the dark. And people would tell her, why are you always asking that? God is so big. He doesn't want to hear your comments about your little fear of the dark. He's busy doing all these amazing things. And she was like, well, I get it, but if he's there, then I don't think he minds me sharing that I'm afraid of the dark. So she would make the statement and people made her feel bad and made her think that at some point she stopped asking about having God help her to stop being afraid of the dark. And she started feeling worse and worse and worse. And then she saw a little lightning bug. For some people, they call them those fireflies. And so she saw one little firefly and she looked and it was like, he helps get the darkness away. And then she said, I like the little fireflies. So God, if that's you with the little fireflies, it'd be nice to have a lot more of them so they can be a little bit brighter. And then she saw another firefly. And then she saw another firefly. And then she saw another firefly. And eventually it looked like the fireflies started lighting up the nights. She paused and it dawned on her that even though the world was trying to silence her, get her to calm herself and soothe her own fears, if you find yourself by yourself and the world doesn't hear you, just like the little firefly was a reminder to her that God still hears, I want you to remember and to know God hears you too. Because as we read through some of the elements that he left us in his basic instruction book before leaving earth, there were a lot of people in there that were afraid. And he constantly shared, do not be afraid, be strong and courageous. If you ever decide to read the Bible, God gives you on more occasions than not, be strong and courageous. Because everybody that he asked to do something outside themselves, bigger than themselves, while they felt like they were small in the dark, was because he was there with them. And I'm not certain of what God you believe in, but if you believe in the God I serve and let Jesus join you on the journey, you will get the support to have your fly moment, to stop being afraid of the dark, to just keep pressing through past your fears, even if there's nobody around you to tell you that you can get past your fears. Because in my lonely moments, in my darkest times, it was Jesus that picked me up off the bathroom floor of that two-bedroom apartment and reminded me that in this dark moment, I am here. In this dark moment, you and I can get you there. So whatever that is for you, be reminded that there is always a firefly moment for you if you choose to let that be your journey. And now hoping that this was a moment that supports you, gives you strategy that you can use. And I want you to know that that firefly thought, well, I got that thought in the conversation that I was having with God, because I was that little girl crying out in the dark when I went back to try to remember my identity. I remembered being afraid, but I remember the fireflies, one after the other, that I kept seeing just show up. And I had to remember who I am, whose I am, to move through my process to begin again. So thank you for letting me share this moment and share this time with you. So if there's no other comments, questions, or thoughts, we will close out. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, guys. Well, thank you. I look forward to seeing you next time. So when you see us, join and share others to come and join the conversation so they can get strategies as well. You're in the group. I think all of you are inside the group because I know I had a couple of people that were having a conversation that didn't get in. But all of you are all usually on the Zoom. I invite that strictly mostly for those that are in the group. So you can make your comments there and let others know how it is. Because this is the strategy sessions that we offer. And I encourage you, join Tuesday session and let Shannon support you as well on your journey. All right.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, guys. See you next time. Have a great evening.